Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2023 Marine Corps Association Tampa Professional Dinner. I'm retired Colonel Tim Mundy, the Vice President of the Marine Corps Association's Supporting Charitable Foundation. The dinner is co-hosted with the Commanding General of MARCENT, Major General Paul Rock. Sir, we want to thank you and your Marines for the support we've received that made tonight possible. Thank you very much. Our color guard support tonight is from Marine Central Command. The color sergeant is Corporal Sellers.
Cut. Ready, cut. Present, cut.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Marine Corps Association, Lieutenant General Charles G. Schroede.
Well, good evening, and thank you one and all for being here tonight. I strive to lower the tone of my voice, especially when I have to follow Tim Mundy, who has such a eloquent, smooth Southern accent. I'm challenged. So Tim, thank you so much for laying that out for us tonight. This is the first time that the Marine Corps Association has ventured into the MARCENT AOR, and it's long overdue. And I want to thank all of you for giving us the opportunity to deliver this professional dinner to you tonight. When we laid down kind of the calendar of events for this year, we really started to look at the areas of the Marine Corps that we have not been able to get to. And we're kind of a land-based or geographically oriented association by default, I believe. And we wanted to get beyond that a little bit and really start to venture out to the components, to the MEFs and other places where we really need to be to deliver the message of the association. So this is the first event of the year. We've got 22 other events this year that we're gonna sprinkle across the globe, so to speak, to send out the message of the association and really to send out the Commandant's message across the board. So thank you for being here. As you all know, events do not come together by simply somebody's kind of vision or kind of wish. It takes a lot of work, and I have to do it all myself. But this evening, quite frankly, would not be possible without some great people that really pull all this stuff together. And I am blessed with having a fantastic team. You met the first one, Tim Mundy, Colonel, retired USMC. He's the better half of the Mundy clan, I believe, that's here tonight. But he is not only co-hosting the MC tonight, but he's also our vice president of the foundation. And he is responsible for delivering all the programs which our Marines benefit from, whether they be battlefield studies or whatever, and I'll talk a little bit about that. More importantly, his wife Christy's here, and she is a fantastic team supporter of the Marine Corps Association. Christy, thank you. And I guess more important than all of that is that you work for the ACMAC, and so great. So we have a front door seat to the front office there. So thank you. It goes without saying that pulling this together takes a special individual, and that individual is in one of two yellow suits over there. But Leanne Mitchell and Sarah, who's outside, you met. But Leanne, Vice President for Events, pulls this together, really gets our sponsors and supporters here to make it possible that we can meet in venues like this, where the air conditioning doesn't work, the valet parking's really bad, and so thank you so much, Leanne, for what you do. We're joined tonight, please. We're joined tonight by the team of MARCENT, and I'll talk a little bit about the general here in a little bit, but really, truly, Tabitha Johnson, I don't know if Tabitha's in here or not. I know all of you here in Tampa probably know who she is, but she really helped pull this together from this end. And so a special shout out to Tabitha. So thank you for that. Corporal Sellers and the team from the color guard there. Again, you know, you want the band, you want the color guard, because that's who we are. As Marines, we represent that heritage and that professional esprit, and we want to be able to do that. And every time we come to an installation, a location, to have the Marines give up their time to be able to show us how it's done. So please, a hand to them, please. I talked a little bit about the 22 events that we do, and you know, this is a professional dinner, and I heard some Marines over there in the corner talking about, what are we doing here tonight? And I asked the same question. I am too, you know. But truly, this evening is about really what the mission of the association is about. It's about being able to have a very informed, eloquent, and senior leader of the Marine Corps talk to us about who we are, what we're doing, and being able to have that professional discussion amongst Marines in a place that brings us all together in a sense of camaraderie. This is one of the types of discussions, events that we have. Other ones that we do are the awards dinners, where we support our deputy commandants and other commanding generals, and being able to recognize their civilians and civilian Marines and Marines across the board, recognizing their professional excellence. Through the foundation, we provide about 4,400 awards to the Marine Corps every year. And that's everything from the honor person at the recruit depots to our honor person at resident PMEs, to the Leftwich Trophy. I think I was a recipient of that at one time, and other places. You guys didn't catch that, did you? Yeah, you didn't catch that. That was good. That was good. You got it? You just didn't laugh. You thought, well, it was true, right, Dick? So, and then all the way to the capstone event, which I'll call the Modern Day Marine, and that is where the Commandant has asked us to take the Modern Day Marine, as many of you may remember it, there on the field of Quantico, and take it to the convention center up in Washington, D.C., so that we can bring together the senior leadership of the Marine Corps, talk about the concepts and requirements of the future force, be able to bring in quite frankly, those that appropriate and allocate the funding to support those programs, so that we can have visualization of the capabilities that we require. That's what's so important about these events. And the team that pulls this together does a fantastic job of doing that, if I might say. And so, in addition to all of that, we also provide the opportunity for commanders really to stop and think and educate. And one of those areas that we work a lot on are the battlefield studies. And that's where commanders are able to take the time with their staffs, perhaps in a pre-deployment cycle or sometime during their operational tempo there, to really look at a battle through the historical lens and understand the decisions that were made that affected the outcomes of battles, so that they could understand how the decision-making process was made, the factors that influenced the outcome of that, and then really look at that and see how their staff and their Marines would apply the same lessons learned or the same decisions to get a better understanding of that. And I think that's extremely invaluable. And again, through the association, we're able to do that. So let me move on and just do some quick introductions here. Tim talked about Major General Rock, and I will tell you, none finer. Sir, thank you. We've known each other for some time, and I got to tell you, as I told you today, you know, I'm humbled. So thank you so much for all you do and continue to do. Most importantly, thank you for your friendship. So, and more, thank you for having us. The bill will be forthcoming. I want to introduce kind of the Rocket will introduce our guest of honor, but General Heckel, as always, thank you for being here. When we talked about guest of honors and who we wanted to be here to really talk about force design, you know, the logical choice, right, was to have CD&I and General Heckel here really to talk about how we're going to do it, what we're going to do, so that it's very clear to the Marines in this room and others what the Commandant's vision is. And I think it's important that we communicate that out to the entire force. So thank you for making the time. Your schedule is a lot busier than mine these days, so thank you so much for being here. At the head table, I just some quick introductions, if you'll allow me to do that. I'll just in no particular order of seniority, but truly they were stuck with me, so I have to give them the opportunity to recognize them. Sergeant Major Ellington, sir, thank you for being here. Sergeant Major Reef, thank you. Lieutenant General Sam Mundy, thank you for being here and for your hospitality as well, forthcoming. Lieutenant General Steve Rudder, thank you. You look great in a suit and not a flight suit, so you look great. Thank you for being here. Lieutenant General Dennis Kroll, sir, thank you. We had this discussion at the table, and I felt a little kind of an outcast in this discussion. They were comparing hair lengths and beards and all this other stuff, and I think Sam was complaining that his beard comes in white, and I simply said, yeah. God, I don't even have a color. I don't even know what it is. It doesn't even come out. So at least you have something that comes out. Mine is, like he said, I'm follically challenged. Mr. Eddie Pena, sir, thank you for all you do and Lynchpin does for us. You pulled this together, bringing all the sponsors into here, so thank you very much. And you always continue, amongst some other folks that continue to be great supporters of this association, so thank you. So if I could just get a big round of applause for them, please. I'd also like to welcome Major General Colonese, a good friend right over there, Vinny, and Major General Taylor, sir, right there, please. Thank you for being here. Perhaps the most important guest in the house tonight truly are the 123 Marines in your alphas. You're the reason why we're here. You're the reason why we do this. So thank you very much for taking the time out of your Liberty schedule to be here tonight. I hope you'll enjoy it. So thank you. We talked about some of the sponsors here tonight, and is there a lawyer in the house? If you are, just face up, man up to it. Go ahead, raise your hand. All right. You're going to have a good time tonight. These events come together, truly, we envision them, but they come together through the support that we pull together from our sponsors. And I will tell you, in my experience, not only as the CEO and president of this great association, but also as a Marine, that I believe that there's no greater Americans that align themselves with this association and others like it. They have the capabilities and the resources to really make force design reality. And it's so important to come together in venues like this where we have senior leadership that's able to really articulate with clarity away from the office to really talk about some things that are relevant of the future for the future force, to bring together both industry partners as well as the senior leadership of the Marine Corps. It will not happen without the support of industry, trust me. We as Marines can envision all we want, but at the end of the day, we have to turn to the industry and say, this is what I need, can you make it? These are the services. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm also grateful for the fact that I know that there's a sense of urgency that the Commandant has given us in the 2030 Force Design Edict that basically says there's a timeline and we have to do that. And that's why these evenings and these types of events are so important to me, and I know to the rest of our team here. I'd like to call out just a couple of special folks, special sponsors that went above and beyond for tonight. And that's Lightcoms, sir, gentlemen, Lightcom.
They had to fly back. They were here, but they had to fly back.
Good, all right, great, we'll take their money. Lynchpin, Eddie, Mr. Pena, how are you, folks? Thank you. iGov, are you here? Thank you, gentlemen back there. And this one, Tun Tavern Social Club. Anybody want to claim up to that?
Also us, sir.
Okay, yeah.
I go when it's put together.
When I saw that, I was like, there's a,
And AJ Passages, sir.
there you go, that says it all. And finally, Jeff with are you here, sir? Thank you, sir, for your generous contribution for this evening. Just a round of applause to them. Just a couple of final words here, and I'll get off stage because I know everybody wants to eat. But first of all, please pick up your pamphlets. You'll see on there, just walk through it. If you open it up on the inside cover, you're going to see on the left-hand side, you'll see Lieutenant General Heckel's biography, but more importantly, he's a handsome man, and we put his picture up there, so, it's there. Sequence of events on the right-hand side. Bottom right, if you scan it, you'll see information on modern-day Marine and everything that entails there. And then on the back, and in that little insert, really are our sponsors and really highlighting their contributions. In addition to that, and what's not on that pamphlet, and what I want to really call out to the active duty Marines tonight, and that is that by being here tonight, not only do you get a free dinner, but we've also are going to extend a free membership as long as you're on active duty to you. We believe that it's that important to be part of this professional association, to be part of this ongoing professional debate about force design and other things, that we want you as active duty Marines to benefit. And therefore, we've extended a free membership for you as long as you're on active duty. I have to pay for my membership, and so do all these other gentlemen in front, but the rest of you in your alphas, you will be invited to join the association through an email, and all you got to do is sign up. No hooks, nothing other than a free membership, and you have access to the Gazette and the Leatherneck magazine for free. So that's my gift to you tonight, and above everything else like that. Before I turn it over to the chaplain, because he may still be stuck in traffic, I believe, I guess I can give the benediction. But before we do that, we're just going to roll a quick clip. The voice of the association is going to speak, and we're going to hear it. It's kind of hard to follow that act. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to adapt and improvise here. Our chaplain was hung up in traffic.
For those that were at the FCA luncheon yesterday about JATSI 2, I apologize because I'm recycling that prayer, but I have it ready, so most of you were not there, so it's okay. Let us pray. As we come together to break bread, fellowship, and discuss innovative ways to solve our country's technological challenges, it's appropriate that we take a minute to give thanks. We want to thank you for this food we're about to eat. Bless the hands that prepared it. Let it nourish our bodies and help us to do your will. Thank you for all of the small miracles that had to happen to get this food, drink, and utensils to our table. Thank you for our guest speaker, our distinguished guests and attendees. Thank you for the staff and leadership of the Marine Corps Association for putting these events together. Thank you for all our sponsors. Thank you to those deployed in harm's way today and those preparing to go. Please keep them under your protection and return them safely to their families. Finally, give everyone here safe passage to home or wherever they're going next. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the meal. We'll come back up here at dessert time and introduce General Heckel. Thank you so much. So at this time, I'd like to just ask Major General Rock to come on up and take the stage. Thanks.
Hey, good evening, everybody. You're up. It is a real pleasure to see everybody here tonight. Welcome to you all. Our distinguished visitors, our distinguished guests have been recognized in detail, so I won't go through all that other than to say, gentlemen, at the head table and elsewhere, you honor us with your presence. But I'm honored also by the presence of everyone here, taking advantage of this terrific opportunity delivered to us tonight by the Marine Corps Association. So in that spirit, a few thank yous. General Schroede, to you and your team for stepping out, contacting us, offering us the opportunity, and then delivering in an extraordinarily low stress evolution. At least for me, I'm sure Tabitha may say otherwise, but really appreciate it. To the Marines and everyone who participated in the event, setting up the event, the color guard, all that, well done, well done. I have the pleasure of introducing our guest speaker. And I'm at the point in my life now where, you look for the interesting little kind of twists of, of fate and opportunity and all that. I have known Lieutenant General Heckel for about as long as I have been in the United States Marine Corps. And you have his bio in your little flyer there, and you can read that for yourself. I won't repeat it. But the big takeaway from that bio is his career of leadership and performance in and out of combat, whether that combat be forward or in the halls of the Pentagon, knows few peers, right? And for that reason, you ride your best horses the hardest. He is in the job that we just talked about today. As the Deputy Commandant for Combat Development and Integration, he is the requirements officer for the Marine Corps. How we're organized, how we're equipped, it all flows through him. And, in a time and an era in the Marine Corps where, we got a lot of change going on, a lot of transformation happening, force design, whole 9 yards, that he is in that position should give us all an extra measure of comfort that it's in the right hands. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce Lieutenant General Carson Heckel, DCCD&I.
The very first person other than mom or dad to hold my oldest child in Pensacola at flight school was Paul Rock. So we've been around a while. So, and I'll be quick, folks. And I know we're getting a little bit long in the evening, and I don't, I'm the son of a German immigrant, so I like shit to run on time. So I don't want to keep anybody here any later than you have to be. So what we'll do is I'll go through some prepared remarks, and then if there are a question or two, we'll play it by ear, but I don't want to keep everybody here. And look, if you're buying, I'll stick around and answer any question you got later on tonight, so just let me know. So I just want to double down on Paul's comments about the thanks. And again, I'm not going to reiterate, but thanks. And Chuck, I mean, seriously, to you and to MCA and to the Marines. And I think to the staff here that's working awfully hard to feed us, my chow was pretty damn good. I mean, but thank you. And I will simply say that, so my aide, who's not very hard to impress, said that planning this trip, and he's been with me for a while now, and we do quite a bit of stuff around the globe. He said this was the most professional planning. So your staff, Paul, was amazing. And so thank you. And you made it super easy. And then again, to Chuck and to the MCA, you guys, your continued efforts, you guys, the support you provide is amazing. And in the video, I think it was all pretty clear to us that it's a relationship that spanned generations, and now you guys are going on more than 113 years, so that's pretty amazing. The mission for you guys has been clear, and I think it was illuminated in the video we saw that was so eloquently enumerated by Tim here, to be the preeminent association for all Marines and friends of the Marine Corps, dedicated to leader development and recognition of professional excellence, and certainly expanding the awareness of, as you allude again in the video, to the rich traditions and history of the Marine Corps, and it really is important. If we ever get away from that, we've lost our way. So it's super important. And again, your mission is never truly accomplished, so you can't ever pat yourself on the back. You're not going to get any sympathy from me because I got a shitload of stuff waiting on me back in the Davis Center, so join the club. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about various aspects of force design, and if we have time, maybe I'll get a question or two in at the end if time allows. So look, over the past, and there's going to be several points along here where I am going to deviate from my prepared stuff. So be prepared. I am known for that. I'm not afraid to break some china, but I'm going to speak truth to you, and I'm going to tell you what I know, right? So here we go. So over the past 3 years, I think everybody will acknowledge that the Marine Corps has made a pretty assertive and aggressive shift back to our naval and amphibious roots. We used to be an FMF. And I'm looking at a lot of old faces at the head table, but we all remember we were an FMF. And then somewhere in the 90s, we lost our way and we became the operating forces. We were no longer the FMF. And if any of you want some background on that, particularly the young folks, about where that's taken us, I'll be glad to talk to you. There's a bar outside. If you got some money in your pocket, I'm willing to talk. But There's a long history of how we got to where we are today. We used to be an FMF. The Commandant and several of his predecessors acknowledged that the Marine Corps was not organized, trained, or equipped for the emerging threat, and certainly the predominant operating environment, the maritime. So, and I'm off script, we had two NDSs, two national defense strategies across two different administrations that directed us to address China. And I hate using China, it's not the right word. And you know what else? I hate the term PRC. What the hell is republic about the People's Republic of China? Has anybody ever cracked up a dictionary and ever read the definition of the word republic? Representative of the people? They should be properly and accurately referred to as the Chinese Communist Party. They're just a bunch of communists. We need to, because words matter. So, force design activities have focused on adapting capabilities to properly shape the Marine Corps' contribution to the not only the Naval Expeditionary Force, but to the Joint Force writ large. And we are creating, and this is an important word, a modernized design that incorporates emerging technologies to deliver a Marine Corps that our nation requires. And I'm going to say this later, but I'm going to, repetition is good. Force design has been as much about modernization as it has been about anything else, right? So let's use Ukraine. And remember, it's not the Ukraine, okay? Words matter. That's how the Soviets used to refer to Ukraine. It's Ukraine. So let's talk about Ukraine. We started delivering them 155s right away, right? And towed tubed artillery. They did magnificent things. And then we decided to give them HIMARS. And what happened? Within 6 days, they started destroying Russian ammunition dumps in the rear that heretofore they had not been able to reach and didn't have the accuracy. So we can talk about 155 versus HIMARS. I would love to. But it's a point about modernization and the fact that a rising tide floats all boats. So again, this force design effort has been as much about modernization as it has been about anything. As a combined joint force, we must gain and maintain a competitive edge against the rapid advances of peer adversaries, right? And we all talk about this every day. And most notably, the Chinese Communist Party and Russia, but clearly the CCP is our pacing threat. And it's not because we seek conflict with China, but because their military has set a pace of technological and military development that simply cannot be ignored. And we've watched some recent events, and these are all going to come clear to you, particularly over the last year. But under the direction of the CCP and its new Emperor for Life, right, the 20th Congress, is everybody familiar? 20th Congress. He got his third term. He is now an Emperor for Life. The new Emperor for Life, Dictator Xi, China is the only country with both the will and increasingly the capability and the power to reshape not only its region, but the international order. The international order to suit its authoritarian preferences. Full stop. The first step in addressing a problem is admitting you got one. Are we admitting fully that we have a problem yet? Because I'm not sure we are. So now we're going to begin, and I'm going off script again. We're going to start talking about the debt limit. Where do you think they're going to come? Defense Department? Probably. Who thinks this would be the right time to cut defense? And you're going to hear some more comments from that on that point later. In order to address our pacing threat and associated operating environment, we are focusing our activities on expeditionary warfare in actively contested spaces. And that fully aligns our service with the national defense strategies of two administrations. Dunford and Mattis wrote the first in 2018, where they broke all the China, pun intended. didn't get that. China was it, right? They moved Iran and Korea down somewhere way down here. It was China. Our efforts are fully aligning ourselves, our service, with both of those national defense strategies. Force design is our contribution to the joint and partnered force. Partnered is important, right? We don't say it enough. Focused on a pacing threat in a principal theater, but globally deployable and always prepared to be the nation's preeminent crisis response force. And as a footnote, force design, again, has been as much about modernization as it has been about anything else. And I can go into all kind of details. As our nation expects, the Marine Corps, when partnered with our Navy, is uniquely capable of expeditionary and amphibious operations. Together, the naval services will define the future of maritime conflict by capitalizing on new capabilities to first deter conflict, and if that fails, to dominate inside an enemy's weapons engagement zone. The substance of our redesign efforts will impose significant uncertainty and cost on potential adversaries. And that doesn't matter, not just the CCP, all potential adversaries. So reference all the stuff Frank Donovan did with 2nd Division and 61-2 in the High North in Russia. It's going to impose uncertainty and cost on all potential adversaries across the spectrum of active campaigning, integrated deterrence, and when necessary, to address conflict. We have accomplished a lot in 3 years, but we can't let our momentum wane. We must work hard to maintain the momentum in some areas, and we need to work harder to build momentum in others. Force Design 2030 encompasses the structural changes within our Corps. And I recognize as the Deputy Commandant for Combat Development and Integration, the guy that sets the requirements, that the things that I do have significant, important effects on other Deputy Commandants. And the important role they will play in aligning the second and third order effects of those Force Design 2030. So, for instance, to achieve the desired end state, Force Design requires adjustments to our talent management, training and education, and installations and logistics. The pacing effort right now within Force Design is logistics. The pacing effort right now in Force Design is logistics, and we have gotten after it. But we got a long way to go, and it's going to be the hardest thing we have yet to accomplish in Force Design. We will not reap the benefits of our modernization without a dedicated and focused effort to promote, retain, and manage our most valuable asset, our Marines. That goes to training and management, talent management, and that goes to training and education. We will not effectively employ our new capabilities without determined focus on how we train our force across all ranks, from entry-level training all the way to top-level school. We must ensure our force is capable of executing our warfighting concepts. So now to priorities. So now that we have divested of legacy and what I term ill-suited systems and capabilities, our work continues with Infantry Battalion Experimentation Phase 2, IBX-2, making infantry battalions more mobile, connected, versatile, and lethal. Another editorial footnote here, and anytime I write in blue, it's always bad, right? But here we go. Does anybody know how big the active force was around the time of 9/11? Come on, somebody throw an active force. 130. Wow, really low. Give me another one. 160. Beautiful. You guys are all over the, nobody's in the 10 space, pretty close though. So I called Meet Borg-Schulte shortly after I got in this job, and I said, hey man, I want like an official stamped manpower data point on structure. And he said, okay, well, what do you want? What was the active structure on 9/12/2001, the day after 9/11? He said, I can't give you that. He goes, for what you want, it's going to have to be September 30 at the end of the FY. I said, I can accept that. So 19 days after 9/11, our Marine Corps was 172,934 big. Now, everybody let that sink in. 172,934. At the time, I was the XO of a squadron. down at New River, HMM 263. We had just gone composite with 2-4MU with Colonel Rich Mills and preparing to deploy. I was XO. I knew everything about all the TOs. We were pretty good. We were really good. 172,934. What was our pinnacle during OIF, OEF? Yeah, we all say 202. But so as the guy that's total force structure, TFSD, we were close to 205,000. 205,000. 205,000. Vietnam, we got up to close to about 500,000. Different draft, right? A lot of casualties. So there's a rule we use. For every 500 Marines, how much money do you think that costs us? Because y'all hear it, right? The most expensive thing we do is manpower, right? We throw that stuff around like it's cool. For every 500 Marines, it's about $1 billion. Does anybody know? So Mike Howe taught me this when I was an action officer in the hallway back in 2003. Do you know what $1 billion is? It's about $1,900 a day since Christ was born. That's what he told me. And I'm like, damn. So it's probably a lot worse. That's what he told me. Major Heckle. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money. I could live on that. So when you think about the difference between 172,934 and 205,000, it was simply unsustainable, folks. Unsustainable. And let me go a little bit farther. In about 2010, we walked away from Muse. Do y'all know that? Does everybody know that? We didn't have a battalion to put against the Marine Expeditionary Units going out with the Navy. And you don't even want to get me to talk about tube benders and V-22s and how we completely screwed the Navy. Right? We decided that the Middle East was more important than our naval partnership. Okay. I'm just stating facts. That's okay. Decision, consequence. So the Navy decided, well, if the Marine Corps doesn't need these ships, why the hell do we? And where are we today? You want to talk about the existential threat to the United States Marine Corps? It's not towed tubed artillery that shoots 25 kilometers, maybe 40 if it's got an advanced projectile, and it's not tanks. It's the lack of amphibious warships and shore-to-shore connectors, period. I will even go a step further. Told you, editorial note, stand by, so we're not done yet. My time in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I've got a couple of tours there, a few, we stopped even referring to them as chow halls and wardrooms. What did we call them? DFACs. We had truly, at the cultural level, become the second land army that the nation neither wants nor needs. Now look, these are facts. I'm just telling you. Not a good place to be. And we wonder why today we're facing 24 amphibs. 24. And I could talk to you till you were blue, until you passed out about amphibs. But nobody needs to wake up and go, hey, we just suddenly got here. No. This started back in the 90s when we stopped being an FMF and we became operating forces. And then we decided that being the second land army in the Middle East, while the nation called, we answered. Right thing to do. I've got several years of my life there. I'm not denying it. But again, back to my previous statement, the first step in addressing a problem is admitting you got one. Okay? So, and we can't keep pointing the finger at the Navy like they're the criminals, because they're not. Maybe. Okay, so priorities going forward. So the whole amphibious lift thing, shore-to-shore connectors, more to follow. The Marine Corps began and continues to be our nation's expeditionary force, and we are inextricably linked, whether we like it or not, to the Navy, on land and at sea. Throughout our history, Marines have prevailed as America's 911 force, responding to global crisis, assisting the joint force and the whole of government, and deploying to conflict around the globe. Naval forces from amphibious warships have deployed globally in support of peacekeeping missions. We all know the examples. I've got tons of them during, even in my long career. Peacekeeping missions, we've evacuated U.S. embassies, we've provided humanitarian assistance to those in need. Oh, and by the way, we've rescued a downed Air Force pilot or two a couple times. Those amphibious forces were there to engage Saddam Hussein's forces from the sea in the Gulf War. We all know that was, he no shit thought that was the main effort. Later sent to the hills of Afghanistan after 9/11, and yet again going ashore most recently to engage ISIS and bomb them into the Stone Age. And most recently, they were the first on the ground to support evacuation efforts out of North Kaya, out of Kabul, Afghanistan. Time and again, naval forces on ships are often the first on the scene, provided they're deployed. So last testimony season, I got in trouble with the Navy. Big trouble. Don't care. Do it again. Because I talked about when they tried to sortie Tutu early for Ukraine. And somehow the fact that I said that in front of Congress pissed off the Navy. Still a fact, right? The SecDef wanted to deploy that MEU early. And the state of the amphibious Navy was such that it could not. Through our forward posture and globally persistent presence, we provide the joint force, our allies, the ability to stand in and persist inside an adversary's weapons engagement zone. We provide the capability to seize and defend key maritime terrain, including sea lines of communication, and of course, as always, immediately respond to global crisis. That's our value proposition. We are globally deployable, tailored to best handle the pacing threat in a principal theater, yet remain a globally responsive force. Again, but how inextricably linked that is to the amphibs. And this is why we need to ensure we retain our amphibious warships and develop a robust inventory of shore-to-shore connectors. Not ship-to-shore, shore-to-shore. Okay, so the LCACs, the LCUs, the SLV, the stern landing vessels, all the places we're going. And eventually, law, more in a second. Our industry relationships are critical to achieving maritime mobility, and I think everyone in here will acknowledge the importance of the current national dialogue going on regarding the criticality of the industrial base to our ability to wage war. And that's across whatever industry you want to pick. Shipbuilding, ammunition, vehicles, it doesn't matter. At the height of World War II, how many B-17s do you think Boeing was pumping out a day?
116, 20.
A day.
20.
Y'all are nuts. 1,000 a day.
16.
16 B-17s a day. A day. I'm the son of a German immigrant who saw those things fly over Landsberg, Germany. Every time he sees them, he would get chills in his, 16 a day. Think about where we are now. And that is a national conversation that we all hear going on right now. So now I'm going to rewind to my comments about where do you think the appropriate cuts are to come for this debt ceiling discussion that's about to impact every single one of us. Our industrial relationships are vital to all the services, particularly the Navy and the Marine Corps. Most importantly, that our shipbuilding partners clearly understand what our requirements are, and they must be able to make long-term decisions based on our clear communication of those requirements, and that is my job. And that's why I'm probably retiring this August, because I will never stop saying what is factually correct and what we need and what the requirement is for the Marine Corps. Going forward, the Naval Force must advocate, this is me, this is my speech. The Naval Force must advocate for a larger Department of the Navy top line. I've been going after staffers for the last year, and I'm not going to stop. This will enable existing congressional authorized multi-ship buys, provide cost savings through industrial base stability, and improve current maintenance and readiness levels. The last two NDAAs authorized the Navy to procure amphibs on multi-ship, multi-years. The Navy allowed both to expire. Both authorizations would have saved the American taxpayers more than $800 million. Our maritime mobility is critical, it's critically important now, and it will be even more so in the future. The CCP recognizes this and is pushing out ships at a rate that eclipses the U.S. And it doesn't matter what type model series. Everybody familiar with a Renhai Type 55? I know Stick Rudder is. It's considered among all naval experts to be the most formidable surface combatant that has been put in the water in 5 decades. Distributed maritime operations, such as Expeditionary Advanced Space Operations, requires the ability to maneuver to and within the global littorals. This isn't just moving our units around, but sustaining them as well. A key planning factor remains operating without, as I said earlier, ports or runways, which requires shore-to-shore connectors. Again, those LCACs, LCUs, we've contracted 3 stern landing vessels through industry. You should go down to the Gulf and see what they are doing. It is amazing. And the first one is headed out to 3rd MLR here within the next month. And also, the medium landing ship. None of our acronyms make sense in the Navy and Marine Corps. Medium landing ship, LSM, it's in the 30-year shipbuilding plan, is the artist formerly known as Law. We are working very closely with DC INL on contested logistics. It's, like I said, logistics right now is our pacing effort. How do we support the force we have created in a contested environment inside the enemy's weapons engagement zone? Supporting small, dispersed units who are constantly on the move. That's how they're going to survive, right? Everything is signature management and everything is mobility. The future operating environment demands that logistics and sustainment are not just a supporting effort, but also for competition and deterrence. We will use logistics, and there's a whole other classification of all of this, right? And I'm going to touch on that at the very end. But logistics will play a critical role in how we compete, deter, and deny. Our logistics enterprise must be uniquely organized and equipped and must integrate installations and logistics capabilities to generate and sustain combat power for the Naval Expeditionary Force in a contested environment, particularly inside the first island chain. Nobody knows that better than Stick Rudder and Paul Rock, because Paul did it for quite a while out in the Indo-Pacific. Emerging capabilities will allow the Marine Corps to transform and diversify its distribution platforms from a predominantly ground-based crewed wheeled vehicle fleet to a mix of crewed and uncrewed air, surface, subsurface, and ground capabilities with variable payloads and ranges the Marine Corps may either own or contract. I will tell you right now, the whole future of robotics, autonomous robotics, small autonomous robotics, with AI and General Crowell and I were talking about this tonight. I'm telling you, folks, I'm seeing things right now from my seat. Quite frankly, I'm glad I'm retiring in August. That are going to be this is like the 21st century version of the machine gun. It's frightening what's happening, and the problem is our pacing threat is outpacing us at scale. At scale. Emerging. Okay, so I think the future of robotics and autonomous robotics empowered by artificial intelligence and machine learning is going to be the game changer. Other priorities, lesser priorities, still I won't say lesser, other priorities, very important, where we've actually been realizing quite a bit of success, closing killed webs. Our success in PC, Project Convergence 21, Project Convergence 22, unbelievable. Joint and partnered experiment focused on closing kill webs in ways we have never done before with partners and allies, right? So PC22, we opened up to Five Eyes. And I'm not going to break any classifications here because I've already gotten in trouble a few times, but we're doing it very, very quickly. C2, sensor, shooter, redundancy, capable of operating in a comms-denied, degraded environment. All of that. we've heard DDoL, right? Denied, degraded, intermittent, low bandwidth. We do that in every exercise we do now. Alternate PNT, we're doing Marine Corps Warfighting Lab is getting after all of it. The family of integrated targeting cells is a DoD-wide endeavor that will create a forward-edge ecosystem of interconnected nodes at the tactical edge to gain and maintain custody of target quality tracks by leveraging select national technical means, commercial space, and terrestrial layers. We're in a whole different place, folks. This isn't First Lieutenant Heckle with his Trimble 10-pack GPS Velcroed to the dashboard of his CH-46. Another area, our stand-in force, designed specifically to operate across the competition continuum to impose a challenge, a cost, and create a vulnerability that the enemy cannot ignore. Strategically placed where they can collect targeting data, strike and close choke points, and or redirect adversaries to areas where the joint force can bring more weapons to bear at a place and time of our choosing. More importantly, the stand-in force enables the fleet and joint force to win the recon, counter-recon, C5ISRT, counter-C5ISRT battle from the very start to the finish. And oh yeah, the part we never talk about because it's so highly classified, deception, deception, deception. Perception reality management and pattern of life manipulation in all things. And that's just a day in the life of SIF. And the future fight will not be the U.S. versus the CCP. We are focused on growing our relationships with the joint and partnered force. This is what enables active campaigning and integrated deterrence. This is what stand-in forces do. And even with all this change, we will remain the nation's premier crisis response force. And that has to be underpinned by a healthy, robust, amphibious fleet that we do not have today. I know most of you probably don't track on SIPR, but the CAS reps on the amphibs, it's just like a daily thing, right? I get them from Major General Turner and PP&O every day. Whether it's Rushmore, I could go on and on. A healthy, robust inventory of amphibious ships. We don't have it. The days that we grew up where we did heel-to-toe mews, right? Heel-to-toe mews, 5 ship ARGs, are a distant memory. So look, I realize that some in the room may not agree with the direction the Marine Corps is going, and whether you agree or not, understand one thing and understand this. This is what I learned when I got here and I took over from the ACMAC. The Marine Corps has taken a detailed, oriented, comprehensive approach to this modernization with significant operations research support. An evidence-based approach centered on a campaign of learning, and it really is a cycle of research. As you know, I own the Operations Analysis Directorate within CD&I. The national defense strategies across 2 administrations mandated this change, and we're executing. As of this past fall, and I probably need to update this since December, we have conducted 40 integrated planning teams, 19 experiments, 35 war games, and 26 studies and analysis. And these efforts are only growing and accelerating. And none of this was done in a CD&I vacuum. I know there's some scar tissue from how CD&I started. I have some of it, and we can talk about it. All of our efforts included representation from across the Corps, predominantly the fleet. These IPTs, where we pull in 60, we just did the Global Positioning Network, right? Unbelievable. Omar Randall landed. I walked down, we had 68 reps from the fleet, to include Naval Expeditionary Combat Command, Stratcom, Transcom. So we're not doing it in a vacuum. To be honest with you, I'm not sure we could have ever done any of this without the fleet. So I think, quite frankly, a thank you is in order. So look, to wrap up, the simple fact is we are a maritime nation. We always have been from our inception. Freedom of movement, freedom of access are key to our national defense, economic stability, and the established international order that has existed since the end of World War II, which was the last time freedom-loving people around the globe had to come together to stop a despot. The littorals are key global engagement points, and the Navy Marine Corps team is uniquely organized, trained, and equipped to compete, deter, assure, and influence in the littorals, in these key global engagement points. Moving forward, we will continue to refine our force design, refine our force design, and we're going to improve service capabilities and lethality for integrated deterrence, active campaigning, competition, and when necessary, conflict. We will continue to aggressively fight for the amphibious ships that are needed to respond anywhere in the world at a moment's notice. We are the only service capable of doing that. The naval services together. Our efforts will allow the Navy Marine Corps team to restore the strategic initiative, truly define the future of maritime conflict, and dominate inside an enemy's weapons engagement zone. Thank you for letting me be here tonight. I have thoroughly enjoyed this. Chow was good, conversation was good, booze was even better. And if we have time, I know it's getting late, but Chuck, over to you if you want a time for a question or two.
Your call.
Anybody have a burning desire for a question? Fire away.
For a particular blend, I'm at SOCOM right now, but once in a lifetime, I was a concept developer at Wilk.
Sweet.
So I helped write the ABO and some of those other concepts there.
Hey, by the way, I just spent about an hour yesterday on the phone with Colin Green, and Frank Donovan dialed in. So we had the deputy commander, we had the vice commander. Apparently when the commandant, when he was in my seat, signed that. Anybody ever heard of the CNSO, concept for naval SOF
Integration, sir.
operations?
I was finishing up right when I got this.
Yep, we let it die, right? Now they want it back. The SOF is reaching out wanting us to play. So my only input to the SOF, to Frank and to Colin, was we need to up, because it doesn't have SIF in it. But so awesome. So go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt, brother.
Looking at force design and how it supports the ABO, Loki, DMO, where do you see CD&I's role in leveraging industry to get after low-cost solutions in order to flip the cost imposition on our adversaries? I mean, we already know, as you mentioned, China's #1 shipbuilder in the world. We have a struggle with that, and a lot of our capabilities that are out there are the tens of billions of dollars, and we need to get them down to the single-digit millions of dollars in order for us to compete in that growing economy. So I know we need that amphibious fleet, but that's expensive. So where are we looking for those other solutions that are a little bit easier to get after off the shelf to lower that cost so we can increase lethality, add capacity, and scale in order to compete?
So super good question and way too hard to answer, so I'm just not going to do it. So, but look, at the end of the day, that's a big question, and it's the heart of a lot of what we do. So I'm an aviator, right? So I'm used to long programmatic timelines where we end up with things that are over-engineered, over-cost, and underperform. It's the way we do things, right? Our acquisition system is absolutely broken. And I think, you know, with the Raider effort and some of the things that DepSecDef is doing, we're trying to get after it. I think industry's being a really good partner. We're gonna have to change some policies, right? And we need to take a long, hard look at how we do acquisition. And I will just tell you that, so I took the small UAS out brief the other day, and it was just more terribly depressing news. Right, just the world I live in. But we have got to get better about how we incorporate industry into what we do. We need to model what the Israelis are doing, right? I mean, we're watching them. The Edge of Tomorrow, my guys went over and spent weeks with them. I had Kyle Ellison. They've got this pretty much figured out. The Valley of Death doesn't exist in Israel. But to the low-cost piece, I think that goes to my comments about small robotics. There's some things that are being done in industry right now that are frightening. And the cost would allow us to circumvent a lot of the bureaucratic firewalls that we have to deal with now, and you know what I'm talking about. So, and quite frankly, that's why I'm excited about SOF and having SOCOM involved. You guys have kind of figured it out, right? You manipulate colors of money. I mean, that's true, in a good way. But look, at the end of the day, if this isn't about killing our adversaries and breaking all their shit, burning their house down, putting a bullet in their dog's head, I mean, that's what we're about, right? We got to be about that. That's what our nation expects. And we got to do it in the most cost-effective manner. So I don't have any answers to you. I think we're pushing that area, but I'm afraid we're not doing it fast enough. Yep, go ahead.
And I are both from Stone Mountain. I didn't realize that until this.
Oh shit, I didn't either. Wow, we got to talk.
LSPs, I think, are working at a lot cheaper than laws and other places. That's something to think about. What I wanted to kind of, I don't want to put anyone on the spot at an appropriate thing here with dinner, but especially in this AO, I think of the ABO, we just had the December edition that the Gazette put on, pros and cons of what we're doing, very in tune with that, a lot of things going on. This year, though, seems like a great opportunity to test out our EABO concepts. I get China is the pacing threat. However, our point is we can apply that in other places. This seems like a wonderful place to try to apply that. So I'm just thoughts on that you might have had around the water cooler back home about what does the Marine Corps want to do here in the future?
When you say here, what do you mean?
CENTCOM.
Oh yeah. So look, I'm not even going to be. I'm going to be COCOM agnostic. There are a lot of opportunities to expand what we're doing with EABO, for instance, in Southcom, where SOF is very active, right, and some other things. So there's clearly, trust me, from my perspective as DCCD&I am not, when it comes to how we demonstrate, experiment, S&T, whatever, exercise, whatever we're doing, I am not bore-sighted on the Indo-Pacific whatsoever. I think whether it's CENTCOM, Southcom, it's irrelevant to me. I mean, quite frankly, some of the stuff that Frank Donovan did with 61-2 up in the high north is amazing. And now we've got all the interest of the Royal Marines, small boats, the Swedes, the Finns. I mean, they're all in. All of a sudden, doors that previously heretofore were pretty much, closed and locked are now open. So I think there's a lot of opportunities, sir. You bring up a good point. So we're not bore-sighted anywhere. Okay, I'll do one more if there is one. Then I'll knock it off because it's getting late. I don't want to keep you bruised. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, sir. Chief Officer 4, Bill Hogan, MARCENT G2. I'll warn you up front, I have a two-part for you. First, I'm excited with Force Design 2030 and where we're going, returning to our naval traditions and maritime roots. So very excited to hit on some of the things I'm going to talk about and ask. I think we've done a tremendous job in recognizing the problem, admitting the problem, and I dare say even admiring the problem. Being men and women in this room who are Marines, I think what we look for is action. And we look for solutions, we look for the way ahead. So transitioning from admiring those problems to the way ahead in the next 7 years and bringing the vision of Force Design 2030 from a vision to reality. You mentioned the amount of amphibs out there. So in order for us to make this a reality, right, it takes a willing partner, and that's the Navy.
Yep.
So I guess my question, the first part of my question is, what does the next 7 years look like on the horizon to make that into reality? And what is the Navy's contribution going to be in the next 7 years to get us to where we need to be? That's the first part. And then related to that exact contribution, going after strategic competition, facing threats, recognizing that A2AD, the threat rate on that is larger than ever. And I'll put it in a polite way and say the Navy maybe has a different risk tolerance than the Marine Corps, and how they would maybe foresee the employment of Marines from ship to shore. What is the way ahead on that? And what is the answer to get our Marines from those amphibs to the shores where they need to be, understanding those threat rings in the current environment where we're no longer going to have air and maritime conflicts?
Okay, so I'm not going to answer that one either. So seriously, look, Secretary Del Toro is a really good partner, but he has a boss he answers to, right? We all have bosses we answer to. I know that Force Design has garnered a considerable amount of support from the people that pass the budget and write the laws, and we will continue with that. My dream would be, look, and again, I'm just going to tell you point blank, the existential threat to the United States Marine Corps, again, is not the lack of towed artillery, tanks, it's the lack of amphibs, folks, and we need to acknowledge that, and it's dire. It's dire. Best case scenario, if we keep LSDs, if we force the Navy to fund maintenance on LSDs after Congress restricts them from retiring them, we are going to go below 30 amphibs. We can't provide a 2.0 presence now. Okay, so again, if you're worried about the threat to our Marine Corps, you need to honor the threat. It's that. My dream would be that we get the Navy to do a multi-year on amphibs in Palm 25. I don't know if it'll ever happen. 3 LPDs and a big deck, it would save the American taxpayers about $900 million. Right? LHA-10 should never be called LHA-10 again. It should be called the Bonhomme Richard replacement. I don't know why we ever let that get away from us. But the Navy's, and in all fairness, that's why I made my comments in the speech about an increased Navy top line. The Navy's dealing with the Columbia class, right? The first submarine to come out is probably going to be $13 to $15 billion. So we all know what that means, right? Mike Howe said, anytime industry gives you a quote, add a third to the time and the cost. So that's going to be $18 billion, and it's going to be way behind schedule. And it's the most important piece of the nuclear triad deterrence. The most important. So in the Navy's defense, seriously, really? They have to pay bills, and unfortunately they use us to pay their bills. And again, in all fairness, because we're looking ourselves in the mirror, we walked away from FMF in the 90s, and we decided we didn't need to support MUSE starting in about 2009, 2010. So that's a reality. On the A2AD piece, I am very confident. So look, I was 1 MEF. General Rudder was my boss. It was MAR-4 PAC. We did multiple exercises over the years. When Lung Aquilino starts getting indications of warnings, he will, as a combatant commander, with the advice of folks like MAR-4 PAC, he will set the theater. He will set posture. It was literally discussed today at the ACMAC Huddle by Major General Turner. We will begin to set the theater. That means putting Marines where they need to be, resupplying to a certain extent, and then setting conditions for what may come next, whatever that may be, whether it's kinetic or not. Nobody's talking about having laws zooming around while China is slinging DF-26s. DF, pick your flavor. Here's the problem. Right now, there's a large crowd of folks that will draw a DF line, again, pick your flavor, and just say anything inside that line is dead. It's not how it works, right? We don't send a CVN in anywhere without DDGs, without subs. We're going to do the same thing here. The point is, a stand-in force is small, mobile. Everything we do is signature management conscious. Everything. Every piece of kit we're buying right now is coming with the new, we talk about being back to cami netting. Cami netting now includes IR, RF. It's unbelievable. Is it 5X? Is that the name? Yeah. Unbelievable. And remember, the CCP's surveillance is primarily optimized for surface search. And I'm not breaking any, they struggle when they look into terrain. We're going to be small, mobile, difficult to find. And at the end of the day, our value proposition is really going to be the recon, counter-recon, gaining and maintaining custody of targets, refining it every single day, developing patterns of life that we manipulate and change, right, based on whatever we're doing. And as Sun Tzu said, deception in all things, right? The biggest part is reassuring allies. So we're going to be there walking the real estate with them every day. You know, virtual presence is actual absence. You got to be there with allies and partners. That means something. I don't know if I answered the question. I've probably gone long enough, Chuck, so I'm going to stop. I'll stick around if anybody wants to come up and grab me. I love it. It helps me. Sharpens the argument, makes me think more clearly. So, again, folks, and to MCA, Chuck, to your team, what a great event. I hope you guys do a lot more of this here in Tampa. It needs to get bigger and bigger, and invite me back anytime. I'll come when I'm a retired guy. Thanks, Chuck.
Not to disappoint, I mean, that's exactly the caliber of professional discussion and debate that we would seek in an evening like this. So thank you very much, General Heckel, for your honest words. I counted, between Rock and I only counted 5 shits. So that was good, and there was no F-bombs, so that was good. Add 6 because that was it. But for those of you that know Heckel, when he speaks with color and clarity like that, means he's extremely passionate about what he says. So thank you very much for everything that you do up there. This is a very challenging time for the Marine Corps, and to have senior leaders in a position where they clearly understand the challenges the Corps faces. This is what we need, so thanks again. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being here tonight, for giving us the honor of your presence. I thank you all for just the continued support of the Marine Corps Association, to our Marines, to your continued service and support to the nation. What General Heckel didn't say, but it was very transparent in all of his remarks, is that everything hinges on the quality of the Marine, and that we will never falter on. And you are a direct indication of that. So thank you very much for what you do and will continue to do for our nation into the future. I wish you and your families all the best. Safe travels home. If you're not in a condition to drive, I'm going to turn that over to your sergeant majors to take care of. I don't have to worry about that anymore, but I do actually. But please be safe. If you need some help on that front, please come see us and we'll take care of you on that. And then just wish you Semper Fidelis and safe travels. Thank you.